you want to be an astronaut, you have bad eyesight, you're not going to be able to be an astronaut. So there's some reality to like, you can't really be like everything you want to be. But outside of like certain constraints, if you really want to do something and you push yourself, like you can learn so much. And just believing that you can do something is going to get you so far.
Even if for nothing else, you just eliminate it from consideration. Know that you've tried it and know that it's not for you instead of wondering. Who wants to wonder, you know?
Yeah.
or regret. Today on Love's Music, I speak with Elle Indigo. Elle Indigo is a singer-songwriter from the West Coast. She writes pop music. She has this moody operatic style, which I really like. Her latest single, Sometimes I Hurt Myself, is a cool song. It's actually how I discovered her. If you like what you've been hearing so far, make sure you send me some feedback. Hit like, hit subscribe, tell somebody who loves music. Up next, Elle Indigo. Elle, thank you so much for joining us on Love's Music. It's a pleasure to have you all the way from the West Coast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So I listened to the new single, Sometimes I Hurt Myself.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful song.
Thank you.
Love it. I have to ask, what was the motivator or kind of what was going on? Because it's a heavier song, especially for like a single, but it's a beautiful song.
So I read a lot from like kind of it's not like really a journal entry, but it's kind of a more journalistic approach. I started writing poetry first. And so poetry's always been incredibly personal to me. And so kind of using a similar approach for my songs. And yeah, I mean, I've always just struggled a little bit with the kind of negative self-talk. And so that's kind of where this one came from. And it doesn't quite have as much of a hopeful lift at the end as some of my other pieces do right now. But I mean, I think that's really reflective of the struggle, especially when you're in it. Like, there's not always that feeling of hope and change. But, you know, I did want to add a little bit. So there's still a little bit of a happy, potential for a happy ending there.
Tonally, it's lovely. It's doing dynamic things. It's interesting. Your sound has always been moody. I think on our prep call, I compared it to the XX. Mm-hmm. Not as synthy, like you use like the classic piano arrangements. Yeah. Is there any kind of like opera or Broadway influence? Because you're doing really difficult stuff vocally.
Okay, to be fair, I haven't like listened to a ton of opera, but I love Sarah Brightman. And so, she was the original Christine in Phantom of the Opera. And so I listened to all of her stuff. Don't quiz me on like opera itself, because I know like some songs, like I've heard a lot of different songs, but I really haven't actually experienced a lot in person, which I should rectify one of these days. Yeah. But I've always loved that sound. I've been asked if I've had training in opera. I have not had real training in opera, which would be probably a benefit, because I like to kind of infuse that sound a little bit.
It's a brave medium to dabble in, especially if you're trying to break into pop.
Yeah.
Because you want almost like the faceless generic dance tune. The thing that you hear in the supermarket, the thing you hear in the club, the thing you hear at the gym. Like the song has to work for all that if it's going to be a pop tune. And you're like, no, this is my lane. So you're like staying true to the kind of like your singing roots while still making like accessible music, which is great.
And we do have some more upbeat, more pop-ish ones coming up, because I wanted it to be a bit of a variety, but still kind of flow together. And I think it's so far like the next couple songs are recorded but not produced. But just kind of thinking about the feel of all of them, I'm like, yeah, I feel like it's coming together and actually working out really well in the feeling where I'm like, I think it'll flow well once I put them together in arrangement.
One of my favorites of yours is Same Mistake on this new project.
Oh, Happy Mistake?
Is it Happy Mistake or Same Mistake?
Yeah, Happy Mistake. So actually, Happy Mistake, Wicked Game, and Zombie are all covers. Happy Mistake is a Lady Gaga cover.
Totally didn't know that.
Yeah, it was, have not watched the second Joker movie, but that's what it's from.
I actually like that. Make Myself Sad is another tune of yours, which I really like. I am starting to notice that now when you talk about like the negative self-talk thing, we make myself sad and sometimes I hurt myself. I'm like, Elle, do we have to be a little bit nicer to ourselves? What's going on there, girl?
We're working on it. And I think it's far enough along that I'm like, I can write about these things, while still like accessing that feeling and that thought and like where I was at the point. And I mean, it's, life is a journey. Yeah. It's all a journey. So it's not like, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, and
right.
So works in progress. Some further along than others, but these are all things that like I've worked through or am still working through at different points. And different points in my life, it was really hard to tell people about these things, and I think sharing that helps us work through it even more and also realize like we're not alone. And so part of my goal is really to reach people and be like, yeah, you're not the only person struggling and dealing with these things, and just kind of make them feel seen and heard as well. Because I think that's so helpful.
Like, what kind of things were you, kind of going through? Just so we can kind of put like a.
Um, there are like definitely specific things, but I feel like a lot of this is stuff that I've struggled with throughout adult life. And well, okay, yeah, I got a good direction that I'm like, I feel like could be a good jumping
Yeah.
off point. So part of the thing that was like an issue with my self acceptance was both that self acceptance and then surrounding myself around people who didn't accept me, which kind of like it makes it worse. It's harder to give that to yourself when you're surrounded by people not giving it to you. Um, I can't like completely blame them for that because I
Okay.
allowed myself to stay in those environments. So the last couple of years, I've done like good job on really surrounding myself with better people who uh, accept me and love me and give me
Mhm.
all the good stuff and the
Yeah.
compliments. So it's much
Yeah.
easier to compliment myself when I'm surrounded by people who
Sure.
do that. And it's getting easier if somebody comes in and maybe I'm like, hey, you seem like a cool person. And then you find out they're not. It's a little bit easier now to be like, okay, yeah, you're not going to be in my inner circle because I can't allow that energy anymore.
Now, when you say things like not accepting you, I only know you in this context. We're both two fellow musicians, we're both creatives, we're both trying to figure out some kind of brand online. So
Yeah.
to me, you're just I can't imagine why anybody would accept you. Like you're we're just we're both trying to do the same thing. We're in this community, we're all just trying to push each other forward. And so we're like in this bubble where I can't imagine somebody not wanting you in their circle. So what do you think was like the catalyst that, or where was the friction where people didn't want to accept you, or what do you think was the kind of like the dividing factor?
I feel like high school is kind of that way for so
I was
many
going to ask you
people.
about
So
that.
that's nice
Mhm.
and vague, but like,
Yeah.
because you're in a small, even in my high school was small, like 200 people per class, per class year. Um, so not tiny, but definitely not large. So you're in this group of people, you're seeing the same people every day. You're going to run into people who just don't like you.
Gotcha.
And if
Okay.
you're trying to force them to accept you, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
So I kind of always had that, like, I feel cliche to be like, yeah, I was an outsider, but
Yeah. No.
you know, I, I guess like I held on to that feeling rather than just letting it be. And then, I'd get into relationships where, sometimes you get into these relationships, you think you like somebody, you think they like you, and then you find out it's just like an attraction thing, and you shouldn't have stayed. But you kind of keep hoping that they're going to change and accept you. And anyway, so I
Right.
let that sort of thing go on for
Mhm.
too long. And
I think we're all guilty of
yeah,
that though, a little
oh
bit.
yeah,
We're like, okay, it might not be the best situation, but it's better than being alone. So I'll take the good with the bad. I'll focus on the good and just kind of neglect the bad till it's
but it
too
can
bad to
really,
ignore.
yeah, it can really eat at your self worth, and
Sure.
if you
Yeah.
allow it. So yeah,
Good, good. Well, I'm glad that you became aware of it so early, and now you're funneling that bad experience into something creative that we can all share it with you and also benefit from it because your
yeah, I hope
story
so. Yeah.
is probably a lot more common than you think. You know?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I think we all feel like we're alone in our struggle, and it's just I mean it's fortunate and unfortunate because I don't want other people to experience that, but I know they do, and if that can help them recognize it and move through it, then I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Speaking of early years, can you please take me back to that first couple experiences with music when you really felt like, all right, this stuff is in me. Like I don't just listen to music, like I have this gift.
Yeah,
When did you
uh,
realize that?
I always loved singing.
Hmm.
I started taking lessons from around age 10, but I was always so nervous, so I didn't really connect like with it as a career choice. Like I thought I was never going to get over my nerves, and I would not say I'm 100% past that, but I thought that was always going to be a detriment, and I was just like, well, we're not going to try. So adult years, I'd go out to karaoke every once in a while. Um, get nervous as heck. Maybe I'd do one song, and it was after my divorce that I was like, you know what, this is. I kind of started like during that marriage. I kind of was like, maybe I'll try to pursue it, and then COVID happened. So
Yeah.
I kind of put that on a back burner.
Right.
But after that, I was like, you know what, I just love doing this so much that I really need to find a way to move it forward. So yeah, started going out a lot, going to karaoke. Like I said, still definitely get the nerves, but I can
Yeah.
do it. So
What's your go-to karaoke tune?
I have like 600 songs on my list. There's probably a good 100 that I don't sing at all ever. But yeah, I don't. It used to be "I Will Always Love You."
Oh wow, really swing for the fences.
Yeah, but I like
The
doing like
hardest
something different.
difficulty level ever.
Okay, so before that, when I was a little bit less comfortable, it was "I Want You to Want Me."
Okay, yeah, that's a little bit more karaoke friendly.
Yeah. But then I was like, okay, I know I can do this song, so
Yeah,
let's do it.
so I'll just try to sing the hardest song ever.
Yeah,
instead.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. No, I love the like the musical resurgence story too. I feel like a lot of my guests are like that. They try it young. I actually was kind of like that. I did music in like early 20s, stopped. I was like, I got back into it in my like late 20s, early 30s. And then like at 40, I'm like, I kind of want to do music, but I actually just like hanging out with musicians. Maybe do the podcast thing.
Nice.
Yeah. Indulge me for a second because I want to get your opinion on this. I have a theory that whatever you were doing is between the ages of say 7 and 9. We'll say 8 years old for all intents and purposes. Whatever really, really fired you up when you were like around 8 years old, you're supposed to be doing something with that. Like that is more or less aligned with your purpose. Like I did music, right? I'll give you an example. I did music because I really like music. Like people around me were doing music. Everyone started rapping in the early 90s. I was like, I wanted to be a rapper too. My brother and my dad also do music. My dad's a drummer. If you watch my dad play drums, the joy pours out of him. Like he was literally put on this planet to play drums. My brother, a ridiculously talented songwriter. Like when he's on stage, I'm like, I'll never be able to do that. I've never really felt at home on stage. However, the only thing that's ever gotten me up in the middle of the night, like I have to do this, like I'm so excited to do this, was writing. I'm actually a writer, right? Was writing. What was I doing 6, 7, 8 years old? Trying to write comic books, trying to write little stories.
Nice,
I'm like, I probably just should have just been a writer. It's still like the only thing that really, really feels like I'm in alignment with. If I said that, how true do you think that theory is? Whatever you were doing around like 7, 8 years old should probably still be in your life as an adult.
And I have terrible long-term memory for myself. I want to say it's until 7-ish. Okay, it's been a while since I've heard this, so I don't actually remember the phrase or the term, but something with the brain development until you're 7.
I heard the same thing. I don't know what you're talking about, but Huberman was talking about it.
I don't want to say it's neuroplasticity exactly. I think it has to do with subconscious and that you're still all in. There's a certain brain state that you're in until you're like 7. You're kind of just downloading everything until around that age. So potentially related. If maybe around 7 to 9 is when you're really starting to get into the self and the self-discovery and out of that just absorption kind of phase of life.
Well, I think at that point, your interest is as pure as it's ever going to be. You're not swayed by commercials, other people's agenda. Like 6, 7, 8, you're kind of a person, kind of.
Yeah.
But you're just developing your taste, and you still haven't been like brainwashed by, social media, school, church, job, whatever.
I don't know what it is with the kids now.
Yeah. Well, even now, like it's like my grandson's like into dinosaurs. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have to teach him to like dinosaurs.
Into dinosaurs, right? Yeah.
Yeah. One day he picked up a plastic lizard and was like, ah, and I was like, oh, he's a dinosaur. So it's like I think that's when your interests are forming. By 7 or 8, you actually have the wherewithal to actually create. Like 5, 6, you can kind of play. You're just still kind of playing.
Yeah.
And then by 7 or 8, if you are going to build or make something, that's probably the earliest you can do that. And whatever you build or make is like, that's probably somehow aligned with your purpose. Or I'm completely wrong. All right, so back to you. I know that music isn't your only love, also fashion. And I've complimented you on your style probably multiple times so far. Tell me about that. Like I knew you went to fashion school.
Yeah.
Tell me how that played a part into your creative landscape.
I love dress up. I love dressing up. I a little later than the new year, but I did a whole house like clean organization, which I do once a year because it's just like I have to get it out of my system. My closet is packed. I don't know where anything else is going. Like, where does this stuff go? Because I have
Yeah.
like 5 different style identities, I think.
Do you?
But I do try to kind of like, at least for my artist brand, I have been like playing around with like at one point doing more like live content creation and stuff like that. But I'm like, oh, I don't always have the time to quite keep within the brand image. But what can I do that makes me kind of still stay within that image without worrying about taking up too much of my day just to do a 2-minute reel or something? I love putting things together, seeing how they go. And so, I have kind of a glitz glam, little bit of a kind of like at the opera, at the theater kind of a look going on, but
Yeah,
it
I see.
varies a little bit depending on like where I'm
Yeah.
going. So I don't try to shoehorn it too much.
Like my first instincts, like if I start brainstorming and I'm like watching it, there's hints of fantasy. Not dark enough to be considered goth, but there's like a mystery to it.
That is one of my styles, but I'm like, all right, we're keeping that for the other Instagram and the other, like, yeah.
That's my other identity.
Yeah. I've been like wanting to play around with like an Evanescence kind of style band, but I haven't had the time for that.
So, well, here's the thing. I'm a sucker for like a curated Instagram, somebody that like fully gives their brand over to the art. I've seen both. I've seen the guy who I could probably just run into at the supermarket, and that's just what he looks like when he plays music. And I've seen somebody fully commit, and I like it. I think that you'll go. Not you. I'm not telling you what to do.
Yeah.
I think artists in general go further when they don't straddle the fence. It's like, no, I'm fully committed to this image, or I'm fully committed to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, and I like that. I think it actually gives you more freedom, because like, well, this is what this character would say. I'm not pigeonholed into, all right, the story I'm writing has to be minute for minute accurate with what actually happened. It's like, no, I'm exploring this narrative with these sounds, and I'm building this world and aesthetic around this character. And I think it gives you more freedom. Am I totally off? Because I didn't do this personally, but that's
well, I think like because the character like still is a facet of me that it's not really like it's somewhat curated, but it's still within me. And so
I see that.
Yeah. That's where I'm trying to get a little bit comfortable. It's like, okay, how far can I go on the not going all the way into this, but still being, live and still somewhat curated, but still within this like realm, and that still like all matches up and doesn't feel too different. But like, I'm like, but it's all still me.
Well, as somebody, like I said, who's just discovered you, who's still trying to figure out like the person that's in front of me, it doesn't come off as like inauthentic. Like it still comes off as just art, and it's like, yes, does she wear this to get coffee at 8 a.m.? Probably not.
No.
But this is a performance. The Instagram's a performance. The song is a performance. And that's how you perform, It's art.
And look, if I had time to always dress up, I'd probably always dress up. I just don't have time for that. So
you're like, actually, I do wear that to get coffee at 8 a.m.
I would if I could. I'm just, I'm good.
Yeah. I always like to talk about like kind of like artist struggles and just try to get into the brain just because it's fascinating to me. And I have this thing where to be an artist, it takes a sense of delusion, right? You got to be a little off to be like, I have this sound in my head, this song, and I'm going to record it and play it and have faith that hundreds of thousands of people are going to like it. You got to be a little nuts to do that, right? And I think artists are one of two things in my experience. They're either way closer than they think, right? They're really hard on themselves and they're making great music and they're like, I'm never going to make it. And then I hear it and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like you're there, like you're almost there. Or the flip side where they're like, I'm only one Instagram story away. And I'm like, you're a little further. In your experience, what's more common? They're further than they think or closer than they think?
I don't know. I mean, if you're just starting out and you think tomorrow's going to be the hit, you're probably farther than you think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've been putting in the work. I mean, is it possible I put out something and like my first album hits it big? Sure. Is it likely? Right. Probably not.
And it's not just music, it's business, it's everything. I think people by nature have an unrealistic expectation of what it really takes to succeed.
I feel like I have a somewhat realistic expectation. I just don't want it to take that long. And that's where I get into a little bit of the hard, like, right. Where I'm like, I
Yeah.
gotta just let it kind of be a little bit, you know.
And I think we also have like an unrealistic idea of actually how good stars are. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
how many times have you seen somebody like doing something or singing and you've been with somebody like, oh, I can do that. And you're like let's take like almost like the kind of like a dancey pops, like a Dua Lipa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at Dua Lipa, you're like, oh, she can dance good, she can sing pretty good,
Yeah.
you know, but it's like she's the pretty girl who they like put in the pop machine. But really, and here's the thing, she's probably phenomenal at everything. The brand just calls for her to sing a certain way.
Right,
Like if she
right.
walked
Yeah.
into a football game and sang the national anthem, it would probably be incredible. If she walked into karaoke, she'd be heads above every single person in that room, you know? And I think we let our delusion, we think we're closer than we think to like, you know, like what the industry demands. And it's like, no, those people are really good, like really good. Not saying that we don't know people that are really good, but,
Oh, right. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like, I think a lot of times, when as far as we think, here's a question. I think it's one of two things fundamentally, you know, that might be holding us back, right? Sometimes it's quality, like the stuff's not good enough, or
Right.
it's good enough and there's just not enough volume. You know, like we all have that friend who has like 7 songs and they're all incredible. And he's like, it's just not happening. And I was like, try recording 700 of them.
Yeah.
And then we have the person that has like, they gig every night and it's just not. And I'm just like, well, dude, you got to take the rehearsal seriously. Like the performance just isn't good enough yet. What do you see that's more common there? Is it a quality thing or a volume thing? What's more common in your experience?
I mean, I'm not sure because most of the people I listen to are already there. But I know, like, I listen to a lot of marketers,
Okay.
and they always talk about volume and output.
Yeah.
The only downside of that is if you're putting out volume, like, and it's all crap,
Yeah, right.
then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
You know?
100 bad songs are still
Yeah.
bad songs.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think everything I put out is quality. There's probably room for improvement. And I'm still learning. I don't even know what I don't know, you know. And I'm my partner does the production and co-writes with me. So there's parts of that I'm trying to learn a little bit so that I can kind of help work on that in the future. You know, I don't want to necessarily go straight into the formula of like, okay, we gotta write the catchy riff here, and then we gotta do this, and this is how you make the earworm. And there is an art and a skill to that as well. And I think it's valuable to learn. And there might be some songs where it's like, you know what, let's do this because that's what's gonna, sell a little bit, but without letting go of the artistry and what feels like me. So, because once I start doing that, I'm like, that's not gonna
Right.
feel as good.
Well, now it's a job.
Personally.
It's not art anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't mind. I really don't mind a lot of the business stuff, but I want the creation part. That's it's got to feel right.
Absolutely.
Sometimes in the middle of the melody songwriting, that process, that's when I get a little bit unsure. I'm like, is this sounding okay? Is this right? Is this what I want? And then once we work on it a little bit further, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this is coming together. Now I can hear it. Now the vision's there. But I'm a very prolific writer as far as like lyrics and poetry. And I've just been doing it for so long that it just kind of comes to me. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I got piles of crap that like hopefully people don't see. Hopefully I don't die anytime soon either. But also I'm like, I don't know that I want those released when I do.
Right. Oh. Yeah. I think we all have that though.
Yeah.
Every artist has a hard drive of just nonsense. You got to write the bad songs though. One of my first guests said that, and I never heard it quite put that like that. He said you got to write every day, and people don't want to write every day because they don't want to write a bad song. So they're waiting for this inspiration, they're waiting for this right combination, the beat, whatever. And he's like, no, you got to write every day because from those bad songs will come the good songs, you know? But if you don't write any songs, you're not going to get any songs. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, you know?
Yeah. And if you just wait for inspiration to hit, I mean, I'm lucky in that I get a lot of hits like that, but I also think that a lot of that comes from doing the writing.
Repetition. So can you do that? Can you write from discipline? Like some people can't do that. And some people can be like, it's 9 a.m. I sit down and write. I'm
not that disciplined. I'm still just kind of figuring out like the balance of, job and social media and writing songs and like all these different things. Trying to actually submit some poems out too. So it's, but what I noticed, I haven't been writing for a while. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I got to go make myself write. And, but when I do sit down to write, I can usually write. I'm not usually so stuck that it's blank page syndrome. It's not always good. It's not always good, but when I sit down to make myself write, I can write.
In what environment are you the most creative?
Right now, usually out of the house, because if I'm in the house, there are 50 other things to do.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And it's hard to tell yourself to have fun when there's, chores and other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you write with other music on, or do you have to be like completely quiet?
It depends. I prefer quiet. If I hear people talking, like I can do a coffee shop, but if the table next to me is really loud, what are you guys gossiping about? I want to hear this, conversation now.
Like I'm the tea.
Which can lead to interesting stories sometimes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But that's not necessarily my purpose in going there. Sometimes I'll go see my partner perform, and then I'll write at a table because he plays at a restaurant like 4 days a week. So
Sweet.
just go and sit there.
It's fun.
Yeah. So there is music on in that way, but I've seen and heard him play so often that I'm like, all right, I can actually write.
Who are some of your muses? Like, who's impressing you now? Who are you kind of thinking about in the back of your mind as you're kind of building your stuff? Obviously, it doesn't sound like their stuff, but there's still like some muses that you're kind of drawing from to help you like get that art from here into there.
I really have been loving Renee Rapp recently because I'm like the way her range and like the riffs, I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is what I enjoy, like, that style. I wouldn't say my sound is exactly Chaperone-like, but I love her sound, and I have always had a strong vibrato. So I'm like, okay, I'm loving that she's doing some of that, and like it's coming back into pop because like it kind of wasn't popular before.
Yeah, that has to be validating, right?
Yeah,
she had a season where she was it for a stretch. Yeah,
yeah. I just have so many people on my playlist, and then I add more. So
now, obviously, writing is something that's something you can kind of hang your head on. It's something you feel you're pretty good at. What is a skill that you would like to refine? Maybe something like you're a little bit better at.
So I did grow up playing piano. I got to get back to actually like remembering my chords or, read. But just for the sake of composition, I want to kind of go back to that a little bit. And I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to learning production techniques.
Yeah, that scares me.
It's like, the first time you open Photoshop, you don't know where to go. And that's the same feeling I had opening my DAW. Right. Like, yeah, right. Where do I go?
If you're scared of Photoshop, wait till you open Pro Tools.
Yeah. Well, right? And, at this point, like I've used a lot of the Adobe stuff, so I know that now. But it's like it's like that beginner feeling of going, okay, I don't know what the language is. I don't know what these are. Where do I start? So, but it's on my list to at least learn a little bit, at least so I can put something down and get a start.
I really respect you for that too. I'm at a point in my life where I just don't want to be bad at anything, so I don't really try new things. I'm like, I worked really, I'm like proficient at like a few things. And I'm like, I'd love to pick that up, but I also don't want to be bad at it for 3 years until I'm good at it. And so
what drives me nutty is I was trying to figure out how to use this MPE keyboard with my DAW just so that I could just like play around and just make sure it worked too. Because I got to make sure this works. I could not figure out what to Google.
Really?
And that drove me nuts. I was like Googling 10 things. Like, I got the name of the DAW. I have the name of the product. Nothing was coming up. Finally figured it out after like a couple hours. And like, that's, I think, what drives me a little nutty. It's not like I know it's a learning process, but like, if I can't figure out where to go.
Right.
That makes me feel like not so great.
Yeah, that's tough. That's why mentorship and teachers it's just so valuable. I try to pound out the keys a little bit myself. I think I made it through like a dozen YouTube videos, and I'm like, without a teacher like looking over my shoulder, I was like, I'm just not going to progress fast. Give me an example of a recent big win for you. The last time you were like, I knocked that out.
So I got accepted to be like a guest author at a local book festival thing. So it's just like you get a free pass, but I'm like, all right, that's really cool. I had no expectations. There's another literary panel I get to go to, which I've been included on for a couple of years. So I was kind of expecting it, but I'm always happy to be able to go because it's just such a fun time, and I get to get out of the house for a couple of days, go do something kind of different. So, and I just love being surrounded by everybody, and everyone's using words that I usually don't hear in my day-to-day life, and I'm like geeking out because I'm like, oh, okay. And then auditioned for, we have a street fair here. So I'm officially approved to perform there. So that was nice. Yeah.
Okay. I'd certainly would call that a win. It's a booking,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's all part of your story. When you do make it big, you're gonna have the story about the street fair that you played, you know,
Yeah.
before you're playing at like a radio music hall. You know, is that the big New York one?
It's funny and almost scary to think of. So I try not to go too deep. But I think of like the gigs that I have been out when people are taking videos, and I'm thinking of like, okay, people are going to take videos of me at the street fair and these different places. I'm like, how many videos are out there that like I don't even know about? I'm like, I hope they were good.
Yeah.
Like, did you get a good angle? I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, I just missed that era. Like, people had camera phones, but it wasn't like everybody.
Right.
So
And they're
like
not like uploading it right away afterwards,
yeah,
sharing it
exactly.
out.
Yeah, so I was doing shows like 2013 was probably my
Okay.
last one.
Yeah.
So people would have like I'd get like a picture there with somebody, but like I didn't have to worry about like my whole set, every mistake being like online for everybody to watch, you know? So give me an example of I wouldn't say like debunking a myth, but something you thought about doing music when you were younger that after you got older, you're like, oh, like I didn't expect that to happen. Like something that happened that was like unexpected, or something that most people expect that isn't true, like once you get started, or something that just surprised you in your journey that kind of caught you off guard.
This one is one that I hadn't really, like, logically to me, it's not a surprise, but I hadn't thought about it very much, which was going to a gig and having like 4 or 5 people, and that's all you're performing for. And like, you got to still bring, maybe not. I definitely feed off some energy. So it's hard to bring maybe as full energy, but you got to do your best to really still bring the energy and bring the performance and give them that experience,
Sure.
regardless of the size of people that are there. And that was not something I was necessarily prepared for. And now I'm like, okay, no, I get it. This is going to happen. I don't like it, but it's going to happen. So
I feel like that first like crop of fans are kind of like the loner. I think I was talking about this before. But like that, your first crop of fans are kind of like the loners, and like the people just kind of gravitate towards you. Maybe not cause they're lonely, but just like they just see something like special. And it's not like everybody, if you're a guy and you're doing music, you're like, all right, I'm going to do the music and then I'm going to get the girls. And it's like your first group of fans are this kind of like batch of misfit toys, that all kind of believe the same thing as you. And it's really special. And it kind of really caught me off guard when I saw like the kind of people that would keep coming out, people that would come to my shows like alone, and I'm like, I didn't really expect like the first like 24 people that were coming to shows all the time to be these 24 people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
interesting.
They're weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, just fun though. So what does success look like to you now versus when you first started doing music? How has your perception changed?
I'm trying to redirect my brain towards being okay with like finding the different levels of the small term goal without letting go of the big term goal. And I don't even know what the big term goal looks like exactly, because I'm like, yeah, I would like a decent degree of like being known and being popular. And I'm like I'm reworking on this theory of what does that mean to me? Because I'm also like finding myself like having a visceral reaction when people like super fangirl or fanboy about other people. And I'm like, that's interesting. So do I really want to be known? I'm like, well, I think yes, but I'm also like a little bit anti-celebrity culture. So I haven't figured out my thoughts yet on this completely. I need to do a bit of a deep dive. And at the same time, realizing that whatever my thoughts are kind of doesn't matter, because society's going to do what society's going to do. So I can have my feelings about it, but let's say I get a level of notoriety, as long as there's celebrity culture, that's what people are going to do. That's how they're going to look at things. I don't get a say in that.
Yeah.
So I am loving Chappell Roan and how strong she is on her boundaries and stuff, though. 'Cause I'm like, this is what I want. I think you do owe your fans some of your time and your energy and giving back to them, but like you're still a person with a life, and you need to be able to navigate that without being like swarmed every minute. So,
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, yeah, big term goals. definitely being, more well known. And it's not, it, it's, I think for two reasons, I'm still sussing this out a lot because there's definitely some internal conflict there. One, I love singing. So the more well known I am, the more opportunities I'm going to have for that. The more opportunities I'm going to have to lean into that career and put more time and energy towards that. So, big push in that way. And then the other is to also have my songs resonate. And, it's going to reach more people if I'm more well known. So,
Sure.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
like big goals. Success on a day to day basis right now just kind of looks like keeping going on, trying to not let that, like, trying to like not use the word lack, but I haven't figured out how to reword this word yet.
Okay.
So yeah, but the lack of like that big goal, like it feeling so far away, trying
Right.
not to let that
Like
deter me,
daunting.
discourage me. Yeah. And just keep on going. Cause it's like, even if it feels like a valley right now, I can see like where I am right now compared to a year ago. Big difference. Big difference. It doesn't always feel like it, but I know it is. That internalization.
Give me an idea of like from like an emotional aesthetic standpoint, like what does a bad day like look and feel like for you? We all have like our personal
Yeah.
brand of bad day.
Right. I'm still working through some like a lifelong chronic depression. So a bad day like a few years ago could have been like, we're not doing anything. A real bad day now might be, we're not doing anything for 3 hours or we're going to bed 2 hours early. And that doesn't happen that often anymore, which I'm very grateful for because I've put in a lot of work. But there's still more to be done.
What are some of the tools that you use when you get when those dark thoughts start to creep in, or the moods, or maybe it's like that layer of apathy or whatever that darkness is? What are you telling yourself to kind of bring yourself out?
Chocolate. That's not telling myself something.
Chocolate,
That's
yeah, that
doing
works.
something. Yeah. I live in an area where there's sun most of the time of the year, which is very helpful for me. I know that's not for everybody, so I'm not trying to be prescriptive and be like, just go get your sun. It works for me though, and
No, it
like
works for me too.
I step outside, I sit in the sun for a couple minutes. I'm usually feeling better.
Yeah.
Not always, but usually.
Right.
Sometimes you just need to sleep. Sometimes I'm gonna feel better after I sleep, and then just be more productive. Calling my friends, talking to my friends. That was always a hard one for me before when I was in a really bad relationship. I didn't want to call them. I didn't want to tell them what's going on because I was like, oh man, they're going to tell me this and that. And I don't want to hear this right now, even though I need to hear it. But yeah, a lot of times if I'm having a bad day, if my partner's here, I might go to him. If he's at work or something, I might call a friend,
Well, it's good that you have people in your life that you can share that with. So you don't have to like deal with it alone, that you feel safe to be vulnerable with. And
Yeah, and I really cultivated that. And I think it's important to cultivate that in your life and make sure you have those people.
I want to ask this question two ways because I think that you would have a really valuable insight. One, what would you tell somebody who just wants to get into music? They say, I think I have a good voice, but I'm just getting started, don't know where to start. And then what would you tell somebody who was struggling was in music, but also kind of struggling like, look, man, my dark days are really dark, almost like borderline scary. So what would you tell the aspiring musician? And then what would you tell somebody struggling?
The aspiring musician, I kind of just say just go for it because without knowing details, it's like, what does that look like for everybody? Are you a singer looking for a band? Do you play both? Like, what do you need? But get whatever you kind of need to get started, and then just kind of get out there,
Yeah.
because you kind of don't know until you do, I think, and
right.
You kind of push yourself a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. You really don't know until you get. This isn't the kind of thing you can like cram for. Like you kind of got to be like,
yeah. Don't quit your
like
day
in the
job.
world. Yeah.
If you have a day job, if you're young enough where you're not like worried about that just yet, that's awesome. You get like so much of a leg up. But if you're in a day job, don't quit your day job, but do start doing what you can do. And struggling it's so broad that that's a little hard to kind of dial in on.
People that have trouble getting motivated, they kind of have like that feet in quicksand feeling where it's like, yeah, I'm an artist. It's not happening for me such that I can't even do basic. And I get this a lot. Maybe your experiences are different. I get it a lot. It's like there's days when like I can write 4 songs.
Right.
And like people are like, if Jules, I'm being honest, man, there's days where it's like I can't get my feet onto the floor next to my bed. And it's like, and if something, and I get scared because sometimes it lasts several days. it's common enough where it like really bothers me.
For the can't get out of the bed one, this is where I really think having a good network is just solid, because obviously this is my own experience, but when I'm having those days, if I can force myself to call somebody and talk to somebody, eventually they're probably getting me out of bed. Not because they tell me to get out of bed, because, at some point, this conversation starting out and, maybe I'm crying about whatever's going on, or who knows, whatever's happening. And then eventually we're laughing and gossiping and talking
Right.
about bullshit. And now I'm like, okay, I can
Right.
go do something. Even if maybe I'm not going to be creative that day, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get up, I'm going to make coffee, I'm going to do my work, I'm going to at least get through the day. And usually for me, that'll carry on to the next day. I can kind of keep going a little bit. So I just, it's so hard to do it on your own.
It is.
It's so very hard to do it on your own. I can tell myself for days that it's going to get better, or, I'm good enough, or like whatever positive thing I'm telling myself. But if I don't believe it, it doesn't matter. So, and that's where having other people tell you, sometimes you can like kind of be like, well, I don't believe you, but you keep talking to them, you keep listening. And at some point you kind of get off the conversation of whatever is going on. And like I said, like you're laughing about old times or new times, or scheduling coffee or whatever.
Right. And sometimes that is like all you need, just like a small shift in frequency. You know what I mean? To just kind of like divert your attention. You know what I mean? Like, you might not start, checking stuff off the to-do list, but it's enough to get you, And speaking of that too, it's the way the culture is set up, depending on like how your YouTube or Instagram algorithm is, or, how ingrained your hustle culture has permeated your algorithm. It's like we have what's called like a productivity dysmorphia, where you start your day off and you're like, all right, if I don't get up at 5, hit the gym, do a cold plunge, do this, read 4 books, do this, do this. And if I don't have it done by 8 a.m., I'm a failure. So you just can't ever do enough.
No.
The most you can do is everything on the list, and that gets you to 0. And anything less than everything on that list is a failure. Insane.
I've gotten much better at rescheduling my list. I don't like it, but I've gotten better at it.
Right. Yeah, but it's like
all right, we actually can't do this today. That's okay. All right.
Right. Yeah. Something. It was the simplest thing, but it made so much sense to me. They were like, the advice was just try not to string 2 bad days in a row, and something about allowing yourself the grace to just have a bad day. You know what I mean? Think about the self-induced condemnation around 11:30, 12 o'clock if you haven't done anything yet. And you're just like, yeah, I've just like literally people people on the other coast have already been working for 6-7 hours. And I'm on my 4th episode of whatever, of Netflix,
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's so hard, but it's like there's something almost liberating to being like, look, I didn't have it today, but I damn sure I'm going to have it tomorrow. You know what I mean? And then you allow yourself that grace, you kind of maybe finish the day strong, and you can kind of like get back on a horse, the next day. And I thought that was like so simple, like almost so simple you would overlook it,
Yeah.
But really good advice.
That's why I think like I have those days where I'm like, screw it, I'm going to bed early. But really, like, it's a more intentional decision. Like, it might have not have started out intentional, but at some point I'm like, you know what? We are making the decision to go to bed early so that I can try to feel better tomorrow. And I think that's where it is kind of giving yourself the grace, because if you are just, for lack of a better term, bed rotting without choice, you're probably not going to feel better tomorrow. You're going to feel like you really kind of gave up and gave in. But if it is this choice that, you know what, I'm doing this because I know it will help me. I'm doing this because I need this break. You're doing the same thing, but like that little mental shift, it can feel a lot different.
I could see that. It's just different framing. You can, I mean, if you turn the lights off at 8 p.m., you can do it as what you believe to be a failure, or as a strategic initiative to refuel for a killer day tomorrow. Same light switch, same 8 p.m., completely different frame.
Feeling. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Elle, I got to ask you, what is the best way that we can support you? If people are listening to this episode, or they hear your music and they want to get plugged in, I want to make sure I'm sending everybody to the same place. What's the single best way that your fans can kind of get plugged in?
Well, I love my website. But I mean, realistically, Bandcamp is always like the best platform for
Really?
that. Yeah.
I didn't see that coming, but okay.
Yeah. I like seeing the streams on Spotify. It's kind of a nice little perk,
Yeah,
but
it's a nice little plus. Yeah.
yeah, that's just numbers that don't do a lot on the back end. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I feel like social media is a great place to, follow me and keep up to date, really.
What can we expect from you in the near future? Should we be checking for the album? Is there anything in between there? Maybe some videos or visuals we can be excited for?
Yeah, I need to work on my next batch, honestly. I'm reworking some dates as far as releases, but I'm planning on having 2 to 3 more singles and then an album drop. So I don't have an exact date yet, but next release should probably be sometime in the next month and a half. And then, the album will definitely be out this year, hopefully in the sooner half rather than the later half.
I hope so. Please try to keep me involved. Anything we can do to help you promote, maybe make a little video or maybe like repost this episode, just anything to drive value towards that album, because I think you're making cool stuff. So I'm gonna paint the picture for you. All right.
Okay.
I know you talked about coffee earlier. So you're sitting there.
Yeah.
Here's your table, chair here. You're sitting in the other chair. Your 13-year-old self is sitting in a chair across from you. What are you telling your young teenage self?
I think the best thing I could have told myself was to just believe in myself, which sounds pithy, but whatever. Believe in yourself and surround yourself with people who believe in you.
I love that.
Yeah. Whatever you want to do from there, doesn't matter what your dream is.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. People always say believe in yourself, and it's cliche because you just hear it so much.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a reason.
But if you really break it down, like to me, when I say believe, it started making sense to me. And I didn't mean to make it about me, but it was, a lot of the times you don't really have the luxury of certainty. We're sitting there with this art or these projects or whatever we're doing, and we think it's good, and we think this is the way to get on, and we think this, but there's no map for us. There's things that other people have done that we might be able to reference. So I think I take it more practically and be like, you have to really, like, your gut is probably right. Your instincts, your talent, your taste, put a little more stock in that. That's believing in yourself. That's how I always took it. And when I started thinking of it like that, I'm like, that's probably what they meant.
And I think of it really like, you want to be an astronaut, you have bad eyesight, you're not going to be able to be an astronaut. So there's some reality to, like, you can't really be like everything you want to be. But outside of like certain constraints, if you really want to do something and you push yourself, like, you can learn so much. And just believing that you can do something is going to get you so far. And you know what? You might try something and then realize you don't really like it that much. But all of that experience is going to help you with whatever next thing you do.
Even if for nothing else, you just eliminate it from consideration. Know that you've tried it and know that it's not for you instead of wondering, Who wants to wonder,
Yeah.
or regret, Elle, I got to tell you, I have had an incredible time talking to you. Thank you so much for making time to join, for being so vulnerable and transparent with your stories. I hope that you are more successful than you've ever dreamed of. I mean, seriously.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the rest of you, thank you so much for tuning in to check out Love's Music. If you like what you saw here today, please send me your feedback. Make sure you subscribe. Please go check out Elle Indigo. She's making incredible music. And tell somebody who loves music. Take care of yourselves.